Hello guys, welcome back. In this video, let's talk about UV, an extremely fast Python package and project manager written in Rust. I have been playing around with this tool for some time now, and I find it really easy to get started with Python projects. As it is mentioned here also, it is a single tool to replace pip tools, pipx, poetry, pyenv, twin, virtual environment, and many more. I have been using almost all the tools separately, but this one kind of has all in one place, so why not to use this. And also the good thing is it is 10 to 100 times faster than pip, right? In this video I'll just show you how you can get started. First we need to install it, right? I'm using Mac, so what I'm trying to do here is install with brew. And if you want to know other installation process, you can go to the installation page here, and here are different installation based on your preference. What I'm going to do is just use brew to install the UV. So that's it, brew install UV, and it is going to take some time, and it is installed. I will run UV version, and then there is 0.5.9 version. That's it, right? Now we have UV installed. What do you do when you create the Python projects? First you need the Python versions, and you might need different versions of Python based on your project. So that's where UV comes really handy. I can quickly install Python using UV. So I can say UV Python install and maybe 3.12.8 for example. I can just run this, and yeah, there you go, we have already a Python version getting in. It's as simple as installing things. If I want to install the same Python that I just installed, I can just run this, and there you go, it is uninstalled. It helps you play around with different versions of Python quite easily. You can go to the document if you want to know more about it, but now let's get started with it. If you just run UV, and you can see there are all the different commands. It shows here what you can do with it. There is run, init creates a new project, run is run a command or a script, dependencies remove. The wording are also quite simple, and this is what it is in poetry also, if you have used poetry before. But let's just initialize the project, right? It says creates a project with the init, right? I can say UV init, okay, my new project. So here it says initialize the project. I can go inside it. If I do lslia, okay, these are all the things that it gets into it. And by the way, if you remember, there is already the git also baked into it. Let me open this in VS Code. So yeah, here is the VS Code. Let me also open the terminal already in VS Code, so it's easier for me to show you the command. So yeah, git ignore. So we don't want this to be pushed into the git. There is this Python version. As you can see, it is taking 3.13 by default. Hello.py, and there is this pyproject.toml file. If you are new to this Py project, this is kind of a requirements.txt. It is one file which has all the configurations and so on. You can see this is the table that they call. There is a project table, and the name, version, description, readme. There is the dependencies. As you keep adding, it will be appearing here, and also says it requires Python greater than or equals to 3.13, which is taken from here, 3.13, right? If you want to know more about the Py project file, I'll provide the link in the description. Here is the Py project, the toml specifications. There are different things that it provides. You can get more information, but we don't need to deep dive into it. Now, how to run the file, right? Once you have the file, you want to run it. If you are using UV, you just run UV before you run something. That's it, as simple as it is. And the name of the file, so it is hello .py, right? But now one thing, if you are using Python and if you know how the Python world works, it's better to create the virtual environment, right? We makes it really simple here, that when you run this run file name, it creates the virtual environment by itself, and it uses that virtual environment. So now, as you can see here, there is no venv file being created. You can just run this file. I'll just show you. You run the file, you can see that it uses the 3.131 version. It creates the .venv file and creating the virtual environment here, and it runs the file hello.py, and yeah, hello from my new project is being printed here. If you want to create the virtual environment yourself, activate it, that's also fine. You can go here and say source venv activate, and now you can see the virtual environment is being activated. And if you want to run the file now, that's it, because it's already in the virtual environment. So it's your preference how you want to do, but you can even create the virtual environment yourself before running the file. You can say uv venv. This is using this already being activated, meaning that we already have the virtual environment. If I remove this, it will be created here, and you can even give names. For example, what you can do is venv, and it will show you all the commands that you can run with the virtual environment. Now we created the project with init, and then we run it with uvrun, which also creates the virtual environment. Now at this point, let's say you want to add something to the project, right? So let's say you want to add pandas. So you want to add some dependencies into it or install some Python packages. How you do that? You can say uv add pandas. That's it. So if you run this, as you can see here, how fast it did all the different things. It resolved 7 packages, prepared 6 packages, and it installs all the different things in just some milliseconds. And you can see here, so this is what I was saying, there is the dependencies, and now it adds latest version of the pandas 2.2.3, and that is being here. And at the same time, it updates this uv log under the hood, so it has all the different dependencies in the log file. We don't need to go here, but that's how simple you can add. Now let's quickly see how to remove that also. You can just say uv remove pandas. That's it. If you run this, that's gone. So you don't have the pandas there. But one thing when I'm saying about add, remove, and one really important thing, let me add this first again, or yeah, let me this uv, let's say add pandas. Right now I have pandas. What I want to show you here is sync. Let's say that we don't have this venv. One thing I want to show you is, let me remove this venv. So I don't have the virtual environment. Let's assume that you clone this project repository from somewhere, and now you have the dependencies here, but you don't have the virtual environment created. How to make this compatible with your environment, right? There is a really good command called sync. It is uv sync. What it does, it syncs the dependencies, meaning that now we have the dependencies pandas. When you run this uv sync, it will create the virtual environment by itself, and then you can see that it installs everything in the virtual environment. This is one way how you can use sync. It's, let's say that you somehow want this to be 2.13, but when you manually edited this toml file, uv is unaware that you want to have the different version of the pandas. So how to tell uv? Now I did something sync with it. So there is when the uv sync comes into play. You can say uv sync, and now you can see it resolved the 7 packages, audited 6 packages, and so on. So now it knows that, okay, I need to have this. And another thing is also, let's say that you deleted this file, so I save this, right? And now it is unaware. Same thing, you can run the uv sync. It resolved 1 package in 1 millisecond, uninstalled 6 packages, because that was dependent, other dependencies were dependent on this particular package, right? Let me add again here, add pandas. And one thing, let me add another thing also, maybe fast API, so you can see how fast it is. And you can see there is fast API and pandas here. And now you want to know the dependency of the projects. You can just run here uv tree. That's it. You can see here there is the root project that we have, my new project. Inside there we have fast API, and the pydentic is there, starlet typing extensions. These are the switches inside fast API, and in the pandas there is numpy and all the different things here. So this is how quickly you can see what are the different dependencies of that particular package. I hope this kind of things is, it's quite simple, but it's good to know that this sync things happens under the hood really easily. Let me clear this, and now let me see what I want to show you. Now let's say that we want to run some scripts but we don't want to install the packages here, right? What I can do, just example, let me create a new file called example.py, and let me paste something here. Let me paste here, control yes, I will save this. So here I'm saying import time, and from reach dot progress I'm saying track and some. This is a simple example. Now if I want to run this uv run example dot py, right, what happens? It says here, okay, no module named reach, because as you can see here, we don't have reach package being installed, meaning that we get it correct error, right? Module not found error. How to resolve this? I don't want to add these dev dependencies similar to how we used to do in the poetry, right? We have dependencies and we can just have those installed. There is really good way how it is handled in uv, right? There is a command dash with, and I can say the name of the package reach, and I want to run this file. As you can see here, uv run with reach example.py. So what it does, you can see here, so it under the hood installs the reach. But if you go to PyProject, there is nothing happening here, and it runs this, but we are not installing this into the project's dependencies. And there is one extra thing also. This is a little bit complex maybe, but I also just learned how to do these things. There is also a thing called inline script metadata. Now if I go to the terminal here, so now we have the reach, right? But what we can even do, we can say here, okay, uv add dash dash scripts. So here instead of request, I can say reach. So what I'm saying here is uv add dash script example.py file and the reach. So if I run this, just check what happens. Here you can see there is a script in the example.py file which has this dependencies reach, and it even takes the requires Python from the root that it's greater than or equals to 3.13. If I run this uv, I can run now as normal. I can run uv run example.py. Now you can see here it says reading inline script metadata from example.py. It can be really handy when you are trying something locally, so you don't need to worry about installing all the different things into the package and again deleting it and all the different things. You can just run with these scripts and so on. I find it really helpful. And now I want to show you is some random commands. For example, if you want to run the pip freeze kind of things, you can just go here and run uv pip freeze, right? You can see all the different things as in the requirements.txt as how it works in the pip. So that is one command. And another command what I want to show you is also this uv clean. What happens if you run this? Let me first go and see what it does. So if you see here, it says clear the cache, removing all entries or those linked to specific packages. So if you just run uv clean, yeah, it says here clearing cache at this and removed 6241 files, right? So it removes all the different files which is not needed for us. This is really good to add things, running the scripts and all the different things. And one extra thing I want to show you is about the tools. I have the link here. If I go to the tools in Python packages that provide command line interfaces, one example is I showed you before rough, right? Linting and formatting kind of things. So let's say I want to run in this hello.py, right? So I say here uv, right? And by the way, there is one additional shortcut also called uvx. So if I run uv tool, you can see here I can say uv tool run format dot. If I run this, and you can see here it says one file formatted, one file left unchanged. Or if you want to just check first, you can see here all this is how quickly you can run this, or you can even run uvx, is the same thing, and just run rough check with just the same thing. For example, here uv tool run rough, it's same as uvx rough. If I run this, all checks are passed. I'm not going to go through the rough part, but just showing you an example that it does all the things. But when you go to the code, nothing is happening here in the dependencies because when you use the tools also, it is doing under the hood installation and all the different things, and it helps us to run the linters and so on there. So that is really good. And what else I want to show you? I think I showed you almost everything from here. Do I have any other things? No, install. And yeah, one thing is also that, let's say that you want to do the self update of the UV, you can just do UV self update. UV was installed through an external package, and self update is not available because I installed from brew. So I can maybe say brew upgrade UV. Yeah, downloading this okay, 0.5.9 already being installed. So if you have installed this with call or something, then it will be doing the self. That's all I wanted to show you in this video. I hope now you get the idea and it helps you to get started with the UV project in order to work with the Python projects. I know that there are many things under the hood to get knowing with the UV things, and this workspace is one of the things which I find it interesting also, because here you can see there might be different projects. Here is one project, here is another project here, and then there is the root project here, meaning that and there is three PyProject toml files and so on, how it manages the projects. So it's kind of work-based kind of things, as it says here. It's a little bit complex once you get started with the UV, and there are other different things. Publishing the packages is one thing that you want to publish the package, and so on, right? Just explore this project and try to utilize new things as you progress. But I think to get started with the normal things, it's really fast to get started with UV. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.